Night has never been just the empty space between two mornings. It is a hidden kingdom, a realm that most people pass through every day, yet never truly step into. When the final light of day fades, a door opens. Beyond that door lies not a void, but a living kingdom where human consciousness quietly transforms and becomes the artisan shaping its own destiny. In the silence of night, when the noise of the world is set aside, sleep begins to operate like an alchemical furnace, where every thought, every affirmation, every whisper is melted down, refined, and crystallized into the form of tomorrow. Modern science has proven that during sleep, the brain enters special wave cycles. Theta and delta waves open the space for the subconscious to receive every impression in its purest form. This is why affirmations whispered before drifting into sleep hold such a wondrous power. They are not opposed or denied by reason. They are absorbed completely, like seeds falling into fertile soil, ready to sprout when dawn arrives. The ancients called this the alchemy of night, because in that seemingly quiet span of time, the human mind is transforming invisible thoughts into visible results. Picture the night as an ancient nursery. In the daytime, if you plant fragments of worry, doubt, and careless words of self-denial, then by morning, that garden will return to you fatigue, scarcity, and disappointment. But if before falling asleep, you choose to plant new seeds, clear and powerful affirmations, the subconscious will nurture them like a patient mother, so that when the morning comes, you receive confidence, strength, and opportunities that appear almost by chance. Yet nothing is accidental. Night always remembers what you entrust to it. In many ancient civilizations, sleep was considered a gateway to the sanctuary. Egyptian priests entered temples dedicated to dreams, where they lay down and were guided to sow images of healing into the subconscious. In Greece, the temple of Asclepius welcomed those seeking restoration. They slept in sacred chambers, and upon waking, illnesses vanished or the path to healing became clear. Ancient Indians called sleep the silent teacher because it answered questions that the waking mind could not resolve. Whether east or west, the common truth remained: night is an alchemical kingdom, where what seems impossible by day becomes possible in the stillness of darkness. If the mind by day is like the blazing sun, shining yet casting shadows, then by night it is the gentle moon, reflecting, cleansing, and clarifying the deepest layers. It is in that stillness that the affirmations of I am echo with the greatest power. They are not merely words, but codes. I am opens the gate, and whatever follows becomes engraved into being. I am healthy. I am prosperous. I am at peace. Each affirmation becomes a directive for the subconscious, like a blueprint for a reality that is forming. The alchemy of night does not rely on straining effort, but on intentional surrender. By preparing for sleep as a ritual, you transform the act of lying down into an act of creation. Imagine that each thought, each emotion, each whisper is a color on a palette. When you close your eyes, you hand that palette to an invisible artist, the subconscious, and it paints the picture you will live in the next day. Night is never careless. It listens, it remembers, it responds. Those who do not understand this let complaints and unconscious anxieties become commands sent into the universe. Those who grasp this power consciously choose every word, every thought, every affirmation as if selecting precious gems to place upon a crown. The difference between the two is not in circumstance, but in how they step into sleep. The alchemy of night is like fire. Those who use it carelessly are burned by obsessions, fears, and chaotic dreams. But those who know how to use it turn it into a flame that illuminates, melts every limitation, refines every ability, and returns a more radiant version of themselves. Night is the silent jeweler, and what you whisper in darkness becomes jewels at dawn. As you step into night, ask yourself, what are you entrusting to the universe? Do you whisper words of denial, or do you plant seeds of power? Do you let the subconscious be led by randomness, or do you command it with a clear affirmation? For it is you who chooses the seed, and night simply fulfills its role, nurturing and multiplying. See the night as a vast dominion where each person has a throne awaiting. When you close your eyes, you sit upon that throne, holding the scepter of I am. Every declaration spoken from that position becomes law. No one else but you can issue decrees to your subconscious. And the strange thing is, those decrees do not remain within dreams. They step out with you into the morning, becoming opportunities, encounters, and changes you never expected. The alchemy of night is both ancient and modern, mystical and scientific. It does not demand blind faith, but patient practice. Just 7 nights are enough to notice the difference. Each night, choose a single affirmation, clear and present. Repeat it like a refrain in your mind until it becomes the music that carries you into sleep. In the morning, observe how reality begins to shift. Gradually, you will realize sleep is not a suspension of life, but a secret factory, tirelessly working to recreate your destiny. The hidden kingdom of sleep is not far away. It opens the moment your eyes close. The key lies in what you carry into the dream realm. If you carry fear, you hand it power. If you carry pure affirmations, you hand yourself a weapon. And when dawn comes, you will see the miracle is not in the beginning of a new day, but in who you have become after a night of renewal. Night is the silent alchemist. Sleep is the furnace. The subconscious is the smith, and every I am is the metal placed into the fire. Tomorrow is nothing more than the inevitable result of what you allowed the night to shape. Remember, when you close your eyes, you do not leave life, you enter the secret kingdom, where you are both king, alchemist, and architect of your own destiny. In the ancient markets of Damascus, where the wind carried the fragrance of incense and spices from distant lands, a young merchant named Michael sat silently beside a silk stall that had nearly run empty. The silks that once shimmered like the desert sunrise had dwindled to just a few worn pieces, faded like his own dream of a once wealthy family renowned across the Silk Road. By day, Michael watched the bustling crowds with a heart heavy with disappointment. Yet each night, as the city grew quiet, he spread the last piece of silk across the rooftop, gazed at the starry sky, and whispered his prayers. Only silence answered. His pleas dissolved into the darkness, leaving him with nothing but emptiness, without a single glimmer of hope, until one night, carried by the cool desert breeze, a figure appeared. It was an old woman with silver hair and eyes bright as a new moon. She laid her frail hand upon the silk and softly said, "These threads once heard the voices of your ancestors. They were steeped in prosperity because they were lulled to sleep by words of powerful affirmation, but now they hear only sighs and despair." Michael was astonished. He had never imagined that fabric could remember, could resonate with the words spoken by humans. The old woman smiled. "All things know how to listen when a person speaks the words I am. From dusk until dawn, the universe opens its ears. Whatever you speak in that span, it engraves into the very flow of your life." Those words planted a fragile spark within Michael. That night, in the space between waking and dreaming, he tried it. Placing his hand upon the silk, he whispered, "I am wealthy. I am prosperous." At first it felt clumsy, as though he were lying to himself. Yet something strange happened. The fabric beneath his hand seemed to warm, to tremble faintly like a breath. Michael closed his eyes and kept whispering. Night after night, he repeated it, until the words became a lullaby carrying him into sleep. Then small changes began. Customers lingered longer before his stall. An old trader who had long forgotten the Rodriguez family suddenly returned with an offer of partnership. One connection after another, one door after another opened, as though the universe had decided to reply. Within months, his poor stall transformed into a treasury of silks, dazzling in colors like rainbows draped across the desert. A year later, the name Michael Rodriguez once again echoed along the Silk Road. The man once forgotten had become one of the wealthiest merchants. And then, the old woman appeared again, this time with a gentle smile. "You have remembered the secret. Night is never silent. It always waits to weave your dream into destiny." Michael's story is not just the legend of a merchant. It is a mirror for anyone who knows how to use the power of sleep. The subconscious is the silk of your life. If you allow it to be drenched in worry, fear, and despair, by morning it will weave a fabric rough and dim. But if you patiently whisper affirmations, that silk will glow, reflecting wealth, health, and joy. No need for haste, no need for doubt, only trust and repetition, allowing the night to do its work. Remember that sleep does not erase your thoughts, but engraves them into the foundation of reality. Michael once despaired, believing his prayers fell into a void. But that void was in truth fertile soil. When he changed the seed, he changed the harvest. And each of us stands before that same field every night, waiting only to see which seeds we choose to sow. When you lie down, imagine yourself spreading out the invisible silk of destiny. Place your hand upon it and gently whisper, "I am." Choose a simple yet powerful affirmation, stated in the present tense, as if it were already true. I am at peace. I am whole. I am abundant. Do not let the mind argue or doubt, for that is only the leftover noise of the day. Let those whispers cradle you into sleep, knowing that each word, each echo, is being woven into the silk of the subconscious. Michael's story proves that transformation does not come from physical strength, nor from fortune, but from a single, humble decision to speak and to believe. When he said, "I am prosperous," he was not merely soothing himself. He was activating a universal law. That law does not show favoritism, does not distinguish between people. It only responds to the certainty of affirmation. And when repeated in the moments before sleep, when the mind is most receptive, that affirmation becomes a creative command. Look into your own life. How many times have you awakened to a day filled with the very stress you worried about the night before? How many times have you tossed and turned with fear, only to see it take shape in reality? That is proof that the subconscious is loyal to whatever you feed it. So why not choose to give it something good, instead of your fears? The silk of your life waits for you to decide its colors. No one can do it for you. Night does not choose. The universe does not decide in your place. Michael changed only when he stopped lamenting and began whispering a new truth. So too with you. All it takes is one decision. Before sleep, choose one affirmation and repeat it with trust. Even if it feels awkward at first, continue. Like Michael, you will soon sense an unusual vibration, and with time, reality will shift like a newly woven fabric, radiant and rich with pattern. The alchemy of night does not promise distant wonders. It simply returns to you what you have woven in silence. Michael came to understand that dreams and destiny are not two separate paths, but one. When you dare to declare, "I am," the dream instantly becomes the seed of destiny. Not chance, not miracle, but the natural law of consciousness. So tonight, as you close your eyes, remember the invisible silk awaiting your hand. Let the words, "I am," flow into it, like a patient artisan weaving each thread. And when dawn arrives, you will see what you whispered in darkness has not vanished, but has become the pattern upon the silk of your life. Night has listened, night has woven, and your destiny begins to change from that very moment. In the darkness of night, there exists a language that requires no script, no grammar, and no learning. It is the language of the soul, a voice that emerges only when human consciousness releases the reasoning of the day and allows the subconscious to speak. As you sink into sleep, the mind no longer operates by logic, but shifts into a more primal form of communication through rhythm, through music, through vibration. It is in that moment that what you think, what you feel, what you whisper, becomes music for the soul, and the soul hears it clearly. The language of the day is the language of debate, of analysis, of calculation. You speak your thoughts, and reason instantly measures, rejects, or argues against them. But the language of the soul is entirely different. It requires no reasoning. It understands truth through resonance. A single affirmation spoken with full emotion reaches the subconscious more powerfully than 100 dry arguments. Think of a melody that once moved you deeply. You did not need to understand every lyric. The rhythm itself carved into you. The language of the soul is the same. When you enter sleep, every breath, every heartbeat, every pause between affirmations becomes part of an invisible conversation with the subconscious. Night does not only hear what you say, but how you say it. A hurried, "I am at peace," creates no wave. But that same phrase, spoken with steady breath, with a slow heartbeat, with the body fully relaxed, becomes a resonance echoing through the nervous system. The subconscious does not read words. It reads vibration. In many ancient cultures, people already knew how to use music, drum beats, bells, and chants to communicate with the subconscious, not because those sounds contained some mystery, but because they awakened the soul's rhythm. When hearing steady drumming, the brain adjusts itself, entering theta waves, the very gateway to the subconscious. When hearing the long resonance of a bell, the mind pauses, as if creating space for something new to enter. This is the art of using the language of vibration to converse with the soul in sleep. This explains why, when you whisper affirmations before sleeping, the pauses between them matter just as much. Those pauses are not emptiness, but the space for the subconscious to receive and harmonize. Just like music, a melody is only beautiful when it has rests at the right moments. An affirmation becomes a powerful command only when silence embraces it. I am abundant, and pause. Let the silence spread. Then continue. I am prosperous. It is these pauses that transform words into rhythm rather than mere letters. The language of vibration also reveals itself through the body's involvement in the process. When you place your hand over your chest, the heartbeat resonates with the affirmation. When you inhale and exhale with the phrase, the breath turns the words into biological rhythm, and in this state, the subconscious throws its doors wide open. It no longer distinguishes between reality and imagination. It absorbs vibration as undeniable truth. And the next day, it adjusts your actions, your emotions, your decisions in accordance with that truth. If the language of the day is like the sun, bright, glaring, illuminating every detail, then the language of the soul's vibration is like the moon, gentle, permeating, shining everywhere without direct effort. It needs no tension, no striving, only presence, steadiness, and authenticity. An affirmation spoken with full presence is 100 times stronger than a phrase uttered mechanically. Night does not care for eloquence. It only listens to the frequency you emit. Some may ask, how do I know if I am speaking the soul's language? The answer is simple. You feel it. When an affirmation makes your body relax, your heart steady, your breath flow in harmony, that is when you are speaking the right tongue. On the other hand, if the words make you tense and awkward, you are still speaking the language of the intellect. Adjust. Allow the affirmation to become rhythm, to become breath, instead of a string of letters. Then the subconscious will hear it. It is also important to remember that the language of vibration lies not only in words, but in the emotions that accompany them. An I am free spoken from a fearful heart will sound faint, but the same phrase, spoken with belief, will vibrate like a bell, resonating through every cell. The language of the soul does not accept falsehood. It only responds to the truth you truly feel. Therefore, before speaking any affirmation, allow yourself to believe it, even if only for a moment. Practicing the language of the soul before sleep is a simple yet powerful ritual. Sit or lie down comfortably, place your hand on your heart, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and begin with an affirmation. Speak it slowly, merging it with your breath. Pause, let the silence sink in. Feel your body vibrate with the phrase. Then repeat. Within minutes, you will feel your whole being blending into a larger rhythm, drifting gently into sleep. This is not just a ritual, but the deepest conversation you can have with your own soul. Imagine that each night you are entering an ancient temple where priests chant in the darkness, their voices merging with the resonance of the universe. But this time, the voice belongs to no one else but you. And that temple does not stand on some distant mountain or in a forest, it is within you. When you speak the words, I am, in silence, you are standing in that temple, speaking the tongue your soul has known for eternity. The language of the soul in sleep is not something to be learned, but something to be remembered. Every person is born with it. Each night, the soul waits for you to return, to whisper, to converse. And when you remember, when you truly speak through vibration, your words cease to be mere words. They become music, become light, become invisible threads weaving your destiny. Tonight, before drifting into sleep, try letting go of every reason, every argument, leaving only a single breath and a single affirmation. Let it merge with breath, with heartbeat, with the silence between thoughts. Then you will be speaking the language of the soul. And once the soul hears, your life will begin to move to a new rhythm, the rhythm of truth, of power, of faith. On ancient shores, where the waves whispered secrets older than history, there lived a fisherman named Daniel. Unlike others, he did not set out to sea in daylight. When the sun's rays lit every crest, he chose the night, when the sea shimmered with a soft, mystical glow, when silence spread and only the wind conversed with the stars. Others mocked him, calling him out of step, a dreamer. But Daniel knew something they did not. The night sea had its own voice, and whoever knew how to listen would receive abundance beyond imagination. One moonless night, when his boat drifted into a strange bay, Daniel encountered an old woman sitting on a rock. In her hands was a peculiar net, not made of hemp or rope, but of fine strands shining like starlight. She looked at Daniel, smiled, and said, "You use ropes to catch fish, but the night sea does not hear ropes, it hears your voice." Daniel was bewildered, not yet understanding. She gently lowered the net into the water, whispering, "I am abundance." Instantly, a school of fish appeared, their scales gleaming like diamonds under the moonlight. "You see," she continued, "the sea is like sleep. It does not respond to physical strength, but to vibration. If you cast your net with affirmations, the sea will answer." That night, Daniel no longer saw the sea as a void, but as a living being that could hear and respond. When he returned, he began to try it himself. Before casting his net, he whispered, "I am prosperity. I am abundance. I am gifted." And from that day on, every night's journey brought him nets overflowing with fish, while others returned empty-handed. This story is not merely the legend of a fisherman. It is a metaphor for how each of us lives. The subconscious is every person's night sea. By day, we cast our nets with actions, plans, and effort. By night, when sleep descends, we can cast nets with vibration and affirmation. And strangely enough, the night nets often catch more, because the subconscious then expands like the ocean, receiving without resistance, without limit. The key does not lie in repetition, but in trust. Daniel did not whisper as though testing a trick. He spoke as if it were already true, as if the sea would hear and respond. That faith turned his affirmations into vibration, and that vibration became the signal that called forth what he desired. The subconscious is the same. If you speak in doubt, it hears only doubt. But if you speak with certainty, it will vibrate and reflect the corresponding result. Imagine each affirmation you utter before sleep as a net of light. You do not need to drag it across the world. You need only to release it into the night sea of the subconscious. And then, in silence, that net spreads, reaching into the depths of the universe. When you awaken, you may not see the fish immediately, but watch for the signs, an unexpected opportunity, a door once closed suddenly ajar, a person appearing at the perfect moment. These are the catches within your net. Night is the time when humans often believe themselves powerless, for the body rests, the conscious mind releases. But in truth, that is when power works strongest. When Daniel sailed into the night, he cared nothing for light or noise. He chose silence, he chose faith, and through that he became the wealthiest in the region. You can do the same. Each